David Benavidez. He is fast becoming the flag bearer of the reason why I can't stand boxing, and boxing is getting on my nerves. David Benavidez, super middleweight turned light heavyweight. He was the WBC champion at super middleweight. He lost the title twice without even losing a fight. Once he lost it on the scales because he didn't make the weight properly. The second time he lost it was because he was found with recreational drugs in his system. I don't know if it was marijuana or harder drugs such as Class A drugs. I can't remember. I'm not doing the research about it. I don't really care. All I know is that he lost the belt twice without even having a fight. The first time he lost the belt, the WBC allowed him to fight right back for the belt, first available chance, against the guy who they eventually gave the belt to. Somehow, the WBC have got some sort of soft spot for him. At the same time, they don't necessarily have the biggest soft spot for him because he was supposed to be mandatory when Canelo eventually got to super middleweight and acquired all of the belts, becoming undisputed, and they didn't call the mandatory. But just check it though. He had the belt before Canelo came up and he lost it with the recreational drug situation. If he had not been found with recreational drugs in his system at that point, he would have been the WBC champion when Canelo got up there, and Canelo would have had to have fought him to get that belt. But he didn't have it because he lost it with his lack of discipline, and therefore Canelo fought for a vacant belt against, I think it was either Avni Yildirim or Callum Smith. I remember at the time Callum Smith was like the diamond champion of the WBC as well as the actual champion of the WBA. I actually remember that David Benavidez was supposed to fight Avni Yildirim as his mandatory before he lost the belt with the recreational drugs situation. Therefore, Avni Yildirim fought Canelo, and it was about the WBC situation. When Canelo then gets all the belts, beating all the champions at super middleweight, a weight class where David Benavidez had campaigned his whole career to that point, where he could have actually got all of the belts himself if he was really trying to do so, but he didn't, because his manager Samson Lukowicz was trying to say that all the fights that he's going to have up there have to be pay-per-view. We'll come on to Samson later. He was then calling out Canelo. The WBC were not calling the mandatory, and subsequently David Benavidez felt like he couldn't make the weight anymore and has now moved up. He moved up and continued to call out Canelo. So for me, he's a clout chaser. He wants that Canelo fight. It's clout for me. But at the same time, he moved up and tried to say, I don't care about Canelo anymore, but still was talking about Canelo. When he moved up, he didn't have a title. But somehow, beating Alexander Vodstick on his first fight at light heavyweight gave him WBC interim status. And then after that, he then defends his WBC interim status against unheralded novice David Morrell, who also came up from super middleweight to light heavyweight, basically chasing David Benavidez, because as he came on the scene, he was constantly talking about how he wants to fight David Benavidez. They have the fight, David Benavidez wins on points, and then he is now in a mandatory position to fight the light heavyweight champion, which was either going to be Artur Beterbiev or Dmitry Bivol, who David Benavidez had sparred with years before. So he claimed he knew him and he knew the way to beat Dmitry Bivol. And he was invited to the rematch. The rematch happened after the David Morrell fight. And after the David Morrell fight in the press conference, David Benavidez made it clear.
My fan base is here in Las Vegas. I'm a Las Vegas fighter, you know what I mean? I would love to go over there and fight, but this is my market right here, and I feel like we're doing really well. We just sold out the T-Mobile Arena. I want to take advantage of this market. I want to stay here. I think that fight would be even bigger here, to be honest with you.
But at the end of the day, the champion is going to be either Bivol or Artur Beterbiev. So they're going to be the ones calling the shots because they are the champions and you want their title. Plus, you don't have much fanfare behind you where you can try to A-side any of these guys. And where they're signed up with the sides that are working with Turkey El Sheikh, they actually have the money behind them. So you can't really A-side them in that sense. He was invited to the rematch between Artur Beterbiev and Dmitry Bivol as a special guest per se. And he went and he was there. And before the fight even happened, he left stating that he had to catch a flight. So therefore, he wasn't there to watch this fight. For me, he only went there to show face, have a few interviews over there, which he did, and then return back on the same day. Did he book a flight to just return back on the same day? Or did he see what was going on over there, not like the atmosphere, and then just say, look, we're flying back today, man, forget all of this, and then change his flights to return? This part of the situation doesn't make sense to me. This is a bit mad, because I swear he's supposed to be going in the ring facing off with whoever the winner was. Anyway, so he's there at the fight and he leaves before the main event, talking about he has to get a flight home. You're supposed to be there for the main event, to get in the ring afterwards, to face the champion, to say, let's fight next. He didn't do that. Got back to America, did a bunch of interviews where he sounded very sheepish about fighting for the world title, for the undisputed title, talking about they may have to do a rubber match and I will have to wait in the interim. I might fight Callum Smith, I might not fight Callum Smith. And his promoter, Samson Lukowitz, who is his promoter slash manager, I'm not even sure what this guy is. And he is saying stuff like,
I have an offer, but whatever it may be, I never, from day one in boxing, I kiss any ring. I got an offer saying that it measured money, millions, to fight Carl Smith. It can happen, but it's fake news in this moment, because I will not fight an interim title. Benavidez, he will not fight any more interim titles. We go straight for a world title, regular from the WBC. He doesn't care about the money. He cares about the fight for the title, regular title. And this moment, the only thing he's thinking is about the WBC and to be a former regular champion. Absolutely, champion. So yeah, we will not take that a particular fight on interim, and we expect on April 8th to make a decision if he want to lose the title or he want Bivol.
Yeah.
Or, he gets stripped. This is what he's saying, Mauricio Suleiman, the president of the WBC.
So what he's saying is Turkey El Sheikh offered him and David Benavidez multi-millions to fight Callum Smith in the interim while Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev do their rubber match. But he doesn't want to kiss the ring. Kiss the ring? What kind of talk is this? A guy has come into boxing with a lot of money that is trying to make fights happen, to pay your fighters a lot more than they're actually worth. And you're talking about kiss the ring? You're kissing Al Heyman's ring every day, all day. So I don't even understand that statement. It makes no sense. You're not allowing your fighter to get his best purse that he could ever get, because you're talking about stuff like being loyal to the WBC. The same WBC who didn't order you to fight Canelo after you was running him down for decades. That doesn't make sense. For me, it's giving, like what they would say, it's giving, I don't want to fight for the title. It's giving, I want a vacant title handed to me by email or something like that. It's giving, I don't want to fight Dmitry Bivol or Artur Beterbiev to get this title. I don't want to be undisputed by fighting one of the champions. This is ridiculous. It seems to me like this guy is just waiting and waiting for these belts to become fragmented, and then he can pick up a vacant title. This is not good for boxing. I don't like it. He's actually trying to A-side Bivol, talking about the fight can't happen unless it happens in America, because it's a bigger fight in America. That makes no sense. America does not promote or support Russian fighters. They might support David Benavidez, but David Benavidez is not showing numbers in his pay-per-views to say that he has any type of fanfare. And you're talking about pay-per-view buys. Samson Lukowitz is out here talking about pay-per-view buys. Turkey El Sheikh and his people, they just give you a set price. There's no pay-per-view upside or anything like that. And let's have it right. The way Turkey El Sheikh and those men are paying these fighters, it would be more than any purse that you've ever had, plus pay-per-view upside combined. Blow all them numbers you've ever had out of the water. So that's ridiculous what you're talking about. These guys are offering people big money to have these fights, and you're trying to say to your guy that he shouldn't go over there and have this fight because he needs to stay loyal to the WBC. How does that make sense when Dimitri Bivol has all the belts, which includes the WBC? So you have to fight him to get the WBC, unless you're trying to wait it out and let the WBC call some sort of mandatory so that you can say that he needs to fight the mandatory or be stripped. But at the end of the day, the fight's there for you. But you have to go to Saudi to have the fight. But you're saying, no, it has to happen in America. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. All I can see is you and your fighter sidestepping what needs to actually happen and having the fight where it needs to happen. You can't A-side the champion. Plus, you can't offer him more than he's getting paid already. I'm hearing that you're offering them 8 mil. These times, them man there are making that early. They're making them type of money early over there. It's ridiculous. And you can't get Callum Smith or them man there over to America even. But you're saying you're not fighting Callum Smith because it's not going to be for any interim. He's never fighting interim again. So what you're going to do is sit out and wait for this guy to get stripped of the belts. I hope he never gets stripped of the belts. I hope he stays champion for as long as you're fighting, because you can't sidestep, man. You have to fight, man. And you better get yourself over to Saudi to have that fight. Ridiculous notion. I can't stand this type of thought process from boxers and their managers and their promoters. It's just what's holding up boxing, and it's stupid and it's silly. But anyway, that's enough of that. I'll see you guys in the next video.